I retell the day 4, and before now, I read this page 2 times, and I will retell this story now. Okay, I remember the little prince. I saw the little man standing in the desert, seeing me, and I have crashed in the desert from the inhabited regions, so I have no time to focus on him. But he seemed to he seemed not to be lost child in the desert, but he seemed to have something to tell me. Anyway, I had crashed in the desert and I had to fix my engine, so I can't talk with him. And here is a portrait of him later I had draw, but it is less charming than real little prince. But it's not my fault, because the grown-up discouraged me when I was 6 years old as a career as a painter, so I never draw anything except a boa constrictor inside, or boa from the outside. Anyway, here is a draw of him, and he was standing in the desert to stare at me and starting tell me about something, but I hadn't focused on him. I had but some times later I asked him, "What are you doing here?" So the little prince said to me, "If you please, sir, draw me a ship." What? Draw me a ship? Okay, so I read this page 1 times, and I retell the story each paragraph. So, and I saw a most extraordinary small person who stood there examining me with great seriousness. Here you may see the best portrait that later I was able to make of him, but my drawing is certainly very much less charming than its model. Okay, so here the little prince was standing in the desert staring me with a great seriousness. And here is a portrait that later I had drawn, but it is less charming than its real model. But it's not my fault. The grown-up discouraged me in my painter's career when I was 6 years old, and I never learned to draw anything except boa from the outside and boa from the inside. But it's not my fault. When I was 6 years, the grown-up discouraged me in the drawing as a painter, so I never learned to draw anything except the boa from the outside and boa from the inside. Now I stare at this sudden apparition with my eyes starting out my head in astonishment. Remember, I had crushed in the desert 1,000 miles from any inhabited regions. I stared him with my eyes starting out my hand with astonishment. And remember, I had crushed in the desert from the human habitation, and yet my little man seemed neither to be straying uncertainly among the sand, nor to be fainting from fatigue or hunger or thirst of fear. Okay, so I didn't know what means straying, but this structure is used neither A nor B, so my little man seemed neither to be to be strained, nor fainting from the fatigue. Nothing about him gave any suggestion of child lost in the middle of desert, 1,000 miles from any human habitation. When at last I was able to speak, I said to him, "Nothing about him gave me any suggestion of a lost child in the desert from the human habitation. So I have time to tell him. When I have time to tell him, I ask him, 'What are you doing here?' In answer, he repeated very slowly, as if he were speaking of a matter of great consequence, 'If you please, draw me a shell.'" Okay. Bye.